Yo, it's Caravan Crypto. It's your boy Teddy. Today we're going to talk about the flippening, Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin. What do I think? Is it possible? Is it likely? Not financial advice. So I'm just a guy on the internet making YouTube videos. Anyway, today, June 10th, 2020, we got 9,700 bucks for Bitcoin. It's kind of fluctuating a few $100 in either direction. This is more towards the high end of where it's been bouncing around through the wedge, if you will. Here's some of the positions that we have. We use the Bitcoin boss method, BK boss method, sorry. If you go into Google and you type in how to chart like a boss, you're gonna pull up this playlist that helps you to examine the trends on the charts to see if you can find a great entry position or a great exit position on a particular coin. This can also be applied to stocks. But yeah, Bitcoin, I'm sorry, Brandon Kelly, the Bitcoin boss, the Cristo of crypto. This brother, he breaks down how to use the Fibonacci, the golden ratio, a number of things, a number of mathematical, you know, sequences or anomalies or what have you. I'm not sure what to call them, but they're found, being natural to the earth. And he uses that to chart these charts. And so, in a nutshell, the thing we say is white over blue. You know what to do, and as you can see, it's right like 90% of the time. If you can make 90% of your shots, work. If they can call correctly, you're doing pretty good. All right. But yeah, so that's that. Now let's get to some of the price action that we got today. June 10th, 2020, Bitcoin at 9,700 bucks. Ethereum 243. Dude, just a couple months ago, this thing was 90 bucks, 80 bucks. Breaking 100 bucks seemed pretty crazy, and now we're at 243. And everybody, the crypto market is like, okay, that's good. It's a good sign. Tether, stablecoin, XRP, 20 cents. It seems like XRP is either at 20 cents, 25 cents, or $3. It kind of does that. Bitcoin Cash and SV, these are Bitcoin hard forks. We'll kind of talk about that today a little bit. This is pretty much garbage to me. However, if you can make some money with them, at least short term anyway. It wouldn't be hodling these. At some point, these are gonna be, I don't know what they're gonna be. Litecoin, another fork of Bitcoin, but essentially Litecoin is a fork of Bitcoin that causes transactions to be very quick and fast. So yeah, Litecoin is like the fastest transacting coin, I believe. I believe Litecoin will settle up your account on a transaction the fastest. I think there's also Dash, which is also very fast, but really what the advantages of Dash is that it's private, and the way it's private is it mixes up payments through other accounts, so that you don't really know where a transaction originated from or ended at, which is great, right? And you have like in the top 100 coins, dude, like IOTA is great, which is the Internet of Things. MakerDAO is a great stable coin / fundraising lending platform. Then you have VeChain, which basically makes the blockchain a immutable ledger for products, so I can tell where a banana came from in the world, the route it took, when it was plucked, etc., etc. That's what VeChain does, using like RFID chips. You got a ton of other coins out in this top 100 list. Maybe I'll go over them one day, but today we're going to talk about the flippening. Flippening is Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin. Ethereum becoming the #1 ranked coin. The reason why a lot of people are talking about this today is because the what do you call it? The lead developer at Blockchair says Ethereum will likely replace Bitcoin, right, as a leading cryptocurrency within the next 5 years. And he talks a lot about, transaction speeds and smart contracts, which is cool. The only thing is, Bitcoin is not a coin that was created like for transaction speeds. All right, it was created to be a decentralized distributed ledger for eliminating any kind of control over a currency that people can use, right? So like I don't need a social security number, I don't need ID, nobody needs to know who I am, and if you look at third world countries, if you look at 4 billion or 5 billion people around the world who don't have those things that are recognized by the traditional finance systems, they can't bank on traditional banking systems anyway because they don't have those things. And so something like Bitcoin, or Bitcoin specifically, solves those problems, right? And the reason why Bitcoin is worth $9,700 and Ethereum is worth $243 mainly is because you cannot control Bitcoin. Okay, there's no singular person to come after for Bitcoin. Okay, that's the real reason why Bitcoin is $9,700. When you send somebody money through your bank account, let's say it's through Cash App or whatever, the money is made available right away to whoever you're sending to, and it quote unquote comes out of your account right away. But the actual settling up of that ledger happens, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days later. Okay, it's not, the actual transaction completing itself happens way later, right? And so with Bitcoin, these transactions can get settled up within 30 minutes, 3 hours, a day, depending on how many people are on the network transacting. But even if you waited 2 days for it to settle up, the fact that nobody could ever stop that transaction is the selling point here. Like that's the important piece here. The fact that nobody can block it, nobody can label it suspicious, nobody can say, politically we don't want this transaction to occur. Like there's no control, right? The minute I initiate a Bitcoin transaction, it goes through, right? And the same can be said for Ethereum to a degree, and we're going to get into that. But first, we're going to talk about this transactions per second thing, because it is a very it's a very prominent, it's like the leading talking point people have in terms of why Ethereum or Bitcoin doesn't deserve the top spot and Ethereum does, right? It's also what a lot of people say is halting Bitcoin from being adopted by the mainstream, users in the world. All right, so look, Bitcoin 3 to 4 transactions per second, right? It's like 3.77 transactions per second. Cool, right? Kind of sucks, and here's why. Ethereum is 20 transactions per second, which is cool, which is great, right? It's way better than 3 to 4, right? But then we look at PayPal. You got 193 transactions per second on average, right? You look at Visa, 1,667 transactions per second. The reason why these transactions per second can be very high is because you have these transaction portals that are accessing a singular database, right? And because they're accessing a singular database, that database can facilitate those transactions very quickly. When you have that database spread out amongst a number of computers, we have to wait for those computers all around the world to verify that the account has whatever money is in there in order to send that money to another account, which also has to be verified on how much money is in that account, right? And so when you're doing that, it's going to take a while, right? So it's called decentralization, right? With a centralized server, easy to access, easy to ping, easy to get communication from. That's why your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, the apps that you use, Netflix, whatever, you're accessing all this stuff very quickly because it's in one place. Okay, it's in one place, and that is a benefit of having a centralized platform. And when you're when your blockchains are in multiple places, it takes a while for you know, the data to come back from all these places for the network to verify what's happening, right? That these transactions are legitimate. Here's the downside. I'm going to show you what the downside is, okay? Sorry, I'm just grabbing this link real quick. Has PayPal ever been hacked? Right? I like these Quora forums because you get a number of different opinions and whatnot. But yes, PayPal has been hacked. Okay, it has bugs and it has glitches. And the reason why it's been hacked, you know, there's this one thread, how I lost my $50,000 Twitter username. Right? A story of how PayPal and GoDaddy allowed the attack and caused me to lose my $50,000 Twitter name, which is a great read. And I'll include all the links to the websites I pulled up here. I'm going to include that in the description so you can check it out. But essentially, when you have, and you know what, before we go to that, let's go to Visa. Because Visa, you know, with I believe it was, how many transactions per second was it? It was 1,600 transactions per second, or TPS. Visa had a 1.5 million account number hacked after Visa and MasterCard data theft. This is a large hack. You know, this is 1.5 million customers, private information, social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, date of birth, you know, all the information that you would need to get into somebody's account on pretty much anything that is worth getting into. You know, they stole that from here. The reason why this can happen is because there is a singular place where the hackers can get into. Okay, so all they have to do, I mean, if it took them 20 years to hack into that one place, it would be worth it for the amount of information that you could get, right? And so, and even the kind of information that you could get, you know, it would be worth it, right? So like 1.5 million account numbers out there. You know, how much would somebody pay for one of those account numbers? You know, or how much would somebody pay for an account number that had a particularly high account balance or credit limit or whatever? You know, you could probably assume that person's information can get you into a lot of different places. You know, it can get you a lot of access to capital. Now, the reason why this can happen is because if hackers spent 20 years trying to get into one database, they'd probably succeed. All right. And that's the reason why centralizing a database or centralizing a ledger is not really a good idea, because it gives hackers a point of attack, you know, that can seem worthwhile. Now, if we spread that out amongst 10,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000 different computers, right? And all those computers had the same exact data on it and also relied on each other for verifying that data, you could not access those things as quickly. All right, you couldn't get into those things as needed. And the fact that we even need social security numbers, addresses, and all that to do these transactions today is nonsensical. It's nonsensical, and it provides a limit of, you know, you know, there's an exposure that each customer, each client has by putting their information like that on the web inside of a database. Okay, that is not. It's just not worth it. Okay, it's just not worth it today. Now I know what you're saying, right? But Teddy, I've heard of Bitcoin getting hacked. I've watched the news. It's all over the place. Bitcoin's been hacked before, and you know, a lot of people think that. A lot of people say that, and they think that, and you know, there's a slight difference in how you say that would make that phrase true, but it's not true, because you're talking about cryptocurrency exchange hacks. Okay, cryptocurrency exchanges getting hacked, not Bitcoin itself. So you know, this is a website with a comprehensive list of exchanges that have been hacked. This is quite a few, okay? And the reason why exchanges can get hacked is because of the same reason why Visa can get hacked and MasterCard and PayPal can get hacked, is because there is a central point of attack. So what an exchange is basically like, imagine somebody in real life having yuan, pounds, euros, gold, diamonds, and US dollars, right? Pesos, whatever, right? And you come to this person and you say, yo, Jimmy, I want to buy yuan today. Here's some fiat dollar, US dollars, USD, right? Give me some yuan. So Jimmy says, okay, I'm gonna give you the equal portion of yuan to the USD that you give me, and I'll take a piece for my transaction fee, and that's how it works. Right? That's an exchange, right? You can do that in any currency, or whatever you want, right? And so exchanges are doing that, except with not with the yuan. They're doing it with Litecoin and Bitcoin and Ethereum and Binance Coin and all these other coins, right? That's what's happening. So there's this one place where all these coins are being held and transacted, right? And so when you buy Bitcoin from an exchange, which as of right now is the only way to buy Bitcoin without finding somebody who has it who's willing to sell it to you. The only way to buy Bitcoin is through an exchange. So you load up your money into the exchange, you go buy Bitcoin, and then the exchange gives you a wallet that has Bitcoin on it. Now, what you're supposed to do is send your Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or Augur or whatever coin that you have, XRP, you're supposed to send that to your own private wallet off the exchange. Because while it's on the exchange, a hacker can try to get to this exchange, get through its security defenses, and then, access your Bitcoin in your wallet that really is not your wallet, because that wallet belongs to the exchange, because they just gave you access to their wallet with that amount of Bitcoin in it for you to access, right? It's not really yours. So it's kind of like you, it's like let's say somebody gave you the login information to an email account that you can access. It's not your email account though, because they are the ones who gave you the login info, right? You didn't create the email account. You didn't create the login info. It's not like you're the only one who has access to this account. The exchange and you share access to that account. Now, if somebody hacks you and gets to that email account, those emails are compromised because it's your fault. But if somebody hacks the exchange, they can do the same thing, get to your email account, and now your email is compromised. Same thing with all the crypto that you store on there. And that's why centralization is not a good thing, okay? Because hackers will find some kind of way. Dude, they get into the Pentagon, FBI, and you got to think, right? If all of these intelligence agencies can't keep their information safe, how can you expect an exchange to do that, or a payment processing system to do that, right? The reason why decentralizing it works is because we have to rely on so many points of failure, right? Not just one singular system of points of failure. We'd have to rely on many, many systems, points of failure in a specific amount of time. Because then, a new block would get encrypted, and a hacker would have to start all over again in order to try to hack all those points of failure. All right, so look, we have that. We have exchange hacks, right? The other thing to note is that with Binance, there was a Binance hack. Here, let me pull it up. And 7,000 Bitcoin was stolen by hackers through Binance, right? From Binance Exchange. The thing is that what was cool about it anyway, sorry, let me pull up something. I hate Bloomberg. I don't know why I even went to that. Let me go to CoinDesk. All right, so what was cool about this hack though is that, yeah, it happened. That sucked. Somebody got 7,000 Bitcoin from Binance. There's no way for Binance to get that 7,000 Bitcoin back. And insurance, because Binance is an insured exchange, the insurance policy reimbursed Binance for that 7,000 Bitcoin, and they were able to give everybody who got their Bitcoin stolen back their Bitcoin. there's something that is important to note here. Changpeng Zhao, or CZ as everybody calls him, is the CEO of Binance. He attempted, okay, to plead to the miner community to roll back, okay, to roll back the Bitcoin ledger, which could be done. It can be done. There is a possibility of doing that. However, you would need to get 51% of the miners in the world on board with executing that. The problem is, I mean, when he said it, he put it out on Twitter, and when he said it, it was a very alarming thing for him to say, because in the crypto space, especially with Bitcoiners, we pride ourselves on, you know, it's a do or die type of platform, right? Like, it's either you keep your crypto safe, your Bitcoin safe, or it's corrupted. Like, you know, you lose it, right? It's possible for you to get hacked, you know, socially. You know, somebody gets a hold of your access information because you messed up, and you can lose it, right? If you send it to the wrong address, you lose it, right? And we pride, you know, that's something that we really like about Bitcoin, because that means no one can control it. The minute he posed this, and you know, he's the CEO of Binance, this is like the largest crypto exchange in the world. The minute he posed this, it was very alarming, and there was a huge amount of backlash from the community, because essentially this hack was his fault. You know, he didn't secure the exchange like he was supposed to, and they found a way in, like these hackers, and they got 7,000 Bitcoin, and he pleaded to the community to sacrifice the immutability of the Bitcoin blockchain for his exchange, which is like a big no-no, dude. They're like, nah, we don't want that. Why would we want that? So now we would set a precedent for, you know, for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to plead to the Bitcoin mining community, you know, to go ahead and roll back the ledger. Who's to say that a government wouldn't do that? You know what I mean? And that was a very alarming. I mean, just him thinking to do that was wrong. It was very wrong. And there's a lot of people who felt, you know, we got all in our feelings about that, man. And from that moment on, I mean, the way you looked at CZ was very different, right? It's very difficult to trust this guy in the crypto community after that. And he's got a lot of influence, but that day he lost a lot of credibility, right? All right, so look, listen, so that's a hack, right? And we talked about Bitcoin and how it can't get hacked, and how, you know, we refuse to roll back the ledger regardless. Okay, so now we're talking about essentially why can Ethereum overtake Bitcoin, right? And there's a lot of topics that we cover in trying to get to that, you know, that answer. I'm gonna pull up this CoinDesk article, and it talks about the DAO hack, which is a dark day in the crypto space, right? And this is an article I'm going to put in the description, understanding the DAO hack. It goes over it in a very detailed way, okay? Now, what the DAO hack, all right, so first we'll talk about the DAO. Ethereum is a blockchain where it can host other blockchains, right? You can set up your own blockchain on the Ethereum blockchain. And 95% of altcoins, which are alternative coins to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was the first one. So you have Bitcoin, and then you have altcoins, which is all the other coins other than Bitcoin, which says a lot about Bitcoin if you think about it. Now, altcoins are 95% of altcoins are hosted on the Ethereum blockchain. So the blockchain that 95% of other altcoins exist on are existing on the Ethereum blockchain, you know, directly, right? So the DAO is an app that is a blockchain that was created for the Ethereum blockchain. It's also called an ERC20, which basically means it's on the Ethereum blockchain, but it's an ERC20 token that was used for crowdfunding, right? So not only crowdfunding, and DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. In the same way that you can program cars to drive itself, if you use a consensus decision-making method, you can use that to have an organization drive itself, right? A company that can drive itself. All the decisions would be made in a voting style, and the people who have more invested in it. So if you have more tokens on the DAO, on an decentralized autonomous organization, if you own more of it, then you have more say in your vote, right? You have more votes that you can contribute to the consensus and influence the way decisions are made. So there's a DAO, okay, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, and then there's the DAO, right? And these are two different things, okay? A DAO is like it's like soda, right? There's hella different names for soda, but it's just soda at the end of the day. There's hella DAOs. There's a lot of DAOs that you can create, but we're going to talk about the DAO, all right? This is a very important distinction I need to make. Okay, so the DAO was an app that allowed it for crowdfunding and also consensus ruling on the day-to-day activities of an organization, right? And everybody really liked it. It's like the first of its kind. And I think, for whatever reason, the DAO was popular, raising over $100 million by May 15th, right? Which was cool, man. I mean, this is like a brand new way of running an organization, of running a corporation, and not only running it, but founding it and then running it. This is a completely different way. This is like next level stuff over here in terms of entrepreneurship and corporate valuation, even, right? It's a whole different, new tech. You know what I mean? New frontier here. And it raised $100 million, which is awesome, in Ether on the Ethereum platform. Okay. What happened was it got hacked. Long story short, at the end of the day, the DAO got hacked, right? And this was a very monumental strategy that occurred here, right? Like in terms of the DAO existing and successfully raising a ton of money, $100 million. To raise $100 million for a new organization, that's very difficult. Okay, that's extremely difficult, right? Especially on a blockchain platform like Ethereum. This is hard to do, and it did it, right? So it getting hacked was heartbreaking, right? And that 3.6 million Ether was taken away from the fund, right? And I think that was actually like a third of the fund that was raised. So they didn't get all of it. But the fact that it got hacked and the Ether from the fund was stolen, it lost credibility. A lot of people didn't see it being something viable. So Vitalik Buterin, who's the creator of Ethereum, at 22 years old, this guy made Ethereum, right? It's genius, okay? Genius guy, right? Young bull. This dude says to the entire community, he says, okay, look, community, what we're going to do is we're going to roll back the ledger, the immutable, quote unquote, immutable ledger of Ethereum to correct this and give people the money back. And just like I said with CZ, right? Look, it happened. They did that for the DAO. They rolled back the ledger and they gave people back their money. And they also hard forked Ethereum, which created two Ethereums. One was Ethereum Classic, and now we have Ethereum that we work with today. And so, a hard fork is basically, so you have a blockchain where it's creating these blocks of data and locking up each block of data. And when you make a hard fork, it's just like a fork in a road. That one block that got encrypted, stays like that, but the next block creates two identical blocks, or one is different from the other block, right? But the transactions begin to get written onto both of the blocks, and the parallel block that gets made can have new protocols on it. It can have new programming, and you can create what's called a hard fork that splits the singular blockchain into two. And now you can either go on with the fork that is the original, or you could go with the fork that is the new. But essentially that's how it works, right? So they hard forked Ethereum, so you have Ethereum Classic and you have Ether the Ethereum we use today, and Ethereum Classic was the old one. Ethereum is the new one that came out after the DAO hack. But the fact that you can modify that quote unquote immutable ledger is alarming, right? And it really spoke to how centralized Ethereum was, right? And so we talked about how you can't do that with Bitcoin. And that is the singular, seemingly singular, value proposition for Bitcoin, is that there is nobody. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but after he made the white paper and he instituted, the blockchain, that was it. I mean, that's as far as it goes in terms of him controlling it. Now, all right, don't get me wrong. In 2010, there was one time where Satoshi Nakamoto modified the blockchain, which is crazy. But it was at a time where it was basically him. He was the only miner on the mining platform, so he could do it. And like I said before, if you get 51% of the miners on board, you can restructure Bitcoin's rules, the rule set that is there. And so, he was able to roll back the ledger because he was the only miner at that time. So we rolled it back and corrected it. However, today you can't do that. I mean, it's just impossible, right? You have people who have invested many millions into mining farms, on the cornerstone that Bitcoin is immutable, it's uncontrollable, right? It's decentralized, right? These are the things that make it valuable. So if any one of these miners had to, or were involved in removing any of those attributes from Bitcoin, it would devalue the mining farm that they have set up. It would devalue the coins that they're mining. It would devalue the store of Bitcoin that they have there. So it would break the value of Bitcoin if they did that. I mean, it would just throw away everything that they've been working for, all the infrastructure they've invested in, all the savings they've built up. It would not be advantageous for any Bitcoin miners to roll back the ledger, right? But the fact that it happened on Ethereum says a lot about Ethereum. It says a lot about Vitalik Buterin. It says a lot about the community that exists. And it is the reason why Ethereum is $243 and Bitcoin is $9,761. There's a big, gigantic difference between the two. So, yeah, that's the video. And I hope this gives you a little bit better of an understanding as to why Bitcoin and Ethereum, the flippening, I don't think would ever happen because of that. The whole centralization piece of it, the immutable ledger part of it. I don't think the flippening would ever happen, but you never know. Might happen. I don't know. It's crypto. Anything could happen. It's wild. But yeah, I know this is kind of a long video. Hope you got some value out of it. Comment below. Argue with me. Call me names. Be the internet. Follow me on Instagram, Caravan Crypto. But yeah, see you on the next video. Peace.